Hello there. Hello, Catty.
Hello, Luke. Hello,
Hi.
Christina. Christina,
Hi.
so happy to see you here. Luke, how are
Me
you,
too.
dear? How are you? I'm so happy to see you. Ma come? I'm Argentinian.
Is this an
Ma come?
Argentinian thing?
Yeah, this is Argentinian and
Have you not had lunch
Italian.
yet? I am fine, Catty. Very nice to see you again. Yeah, I'm doing fine. We just had a weekend away at the seaside. My wife, daughter, and I spent the weekend at the seaside because it was my birthday. And
I
my
was
wife being
about to say.
Yes.
I was about. How was it? Was it good?
It was lovely. It was nice to actually get away and go somewhere else. And literally last week in Paris, where I live in France, they allowed people to eat out on the restaurant terraces again. And so we actually had food on a restaurant terrace, although the weather has been terrible. So it was kind of like raining sometimes and windy, but we were all there with our coats on, done up, eating our seafood. But it was great to get some fresh air and a change of scenery.
I
Lovely.
imagine. At least you are out, you know.
Yeah.
You want to be under an umbrella, but out.
Yeah, it was amazing. I don't mind getting a bit wet in the rain. It's all right. I can handle it. I'm English.
It's true. Let me introduce you to Christina. Christina is a member of our crew. Our crew, we have to say, our group of teachers in the Telegram group. Let me introduce Christina, please. Hello. Dear.
Hi. Actually, I'm one of the, let's say, teacher, even though I don't like to call myself teacher because I'm not, but I'm a member who try to, to motivate people to speak, break down all barriers, just speak, have fun by playing games, by discussing things. So, and that's exactly what we are doing in our project.
I just want to say thank you very much. I love all you guys, and we're changing the world. Thank you all for an amazing conversation. Thank you for your your kind words and your inspiration, for sharing your stories, and we'll talk again soon. Okay.
Charity project that we just gather together, and my session has a name, Get to Know. So we're trying to get to know better because our let's say participants is a widely multicultural mix. Yeah, so it's really important to get to know better each other.
Absolutely. All right. Well, no, I haven't met you before, Christina, so it's nice to get to know you as well in this conversation. Yeah, great. The project sounds like a really good idea.
I have to add that actually, thanks to, if I can say their name, Angelika and Huber from Germany, they are those two people. Thanks to them, I know about your podcast.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, so they're
mentioned-
Lepsters. They're Lepsters, are they? They're some of
Yeah,
my
I think
agents.
so. Yes, they are.
Oh, great. Oh, that's good. Thanks, guys. Thanks for spreading the word. My people. I've got various agents in different countries who work to promote my podcast.
They spread the word, all over, and they're from Germany. But, of
Great.
course. Well, let's go to the topic, because today, I thank you so much for being here. But Luke, we needed to talk to you, because you are one of the best examples, in my opinion. I think Christina is going to agree with me, that the best examples on how listening really makes a difference in our journey through, getting the expected fluency, of course. So can you tell us something about, first of all, why you do what you do, okay? And then, how can we connect that with the listening practice, and the results?
Well, one of the reasons I started doing my podcast ages ago is because, as a teacher in classrooms, as an English teacher teaching students from around the world in classes in London, I noticed that my students never did enough listening. So I'd ask them, what do you listen to? Do you listen to this? Do you listen to that? And just 90% of them never did anything, really. There were some that would watch TV series and films, and they would make an effort to listen to certain things in English. But the vast majority of people, in my experience, even though they paid their money, traveled in some cases around the world to come to my classroom, none of them ever did enough listening. And it was obvious that that wasn't helping them, because their English wasn't very good, and that's why they were in the class, of course. But I don't know, in some cases I felt like it didn't even occur to them that they could just spend their time there, listening to things. People didn't know what to listen to. They didn't know how to find things. They didn't know what to do. It's just people were completely clueless about the whole idea of doing it. So I thought, all right, fine. That's just in terms of what you asked me, that's one of the motivating reasons why I started doing my podcast. And I thought 12 years ago, there was a gap. There was a lack of audio content for learners of English. There was some stuff, the BBC was doing 6-minute English, and there were a few other podcasts, but for the most part, there wasn't really a lot of content. Hardly any YouTube channels devoted to English teaching. And YouTube's another thing entirely, in fact. But anyway, so I thought, right, maybe I can do some audio material and people can enjoy listening to it, and it will make a big difference. So that's one of the reasons why I started doing it. And also in classrooms as well, in language classes, people don't do enough listening either. There's some, think about your typical English lesson. There's usually some listening with a task, several tasks, like there'll be a global a comprehension task, and then something more specific. And often it turns into quite intensive listening, where you've got to listen for specific information. The audio will be only a couple of minutes long in most cases. Anything over about 3 minutes is too long for a classroom. And often in course books, the listening is pre-written, scripted, and scripted dialogue often. And they're mostly horrible, aren't they? Really, they're pretty.
I want to go to the kitchen. I am going to eat my chicken. Would you like to come? And this is like dialogues.
Even the ones that are, and I don't mean to bash the course books, because I think they're great and I've used them throughout my career. I think the course books are really good. They're based on really good methodology and stuff like that. And it's not what I'm trying to do. But what I mean to say is that, you know, that just not enough time is being devoted to listening and the right kinds of listening. It doesn't have to be task oriented. It doesn't have to be, you know, listening comprehension tasks and all that stuff. That's great, but it doesn't have to be that. Simply listening and listening for longer periods of time and listening because you enjoy it, and just a more natural process of just, you know, I'm just going to, you know, oh, a new episode of the podcast is out. I'm going to listen to it, and it's an hour long, and people are just listening to it. They're not thinking about learning English. They're not thinking about specific questions or whatever. They're just listening because they want to follow the conversation or they find it enjoyable. You know, that's really important, I think. And that's when I think listening as a learning resource really works best, when it's done long term, because there isn't just one single listening, like a recording, that if you just listen to this one 5-minute recording, that your English is going to suddenly improve as a result. No, it's like lots of time spent on a regular basis, long term. And that's how, you know, I think listening can help. I mean, I can go into more things. Exposure to the language is obviously vital. You know, how can you expect to be able to produce the oral version of the language if you don't know what it really sounds like? You've got to hear it being used. You've got to hear English as the, you know, the oral version of English, so that you know what it is that you're trying to reproduce. English is not just words, abstract, or words on a page, or grammar written down. It's there's a whole sort of social, psychological, physical aspect to it too. There's a whole delivery system relating to English in terms of pronunciation and social interactions, and the, you know, the pragmatics of how we actually use English for doing this thing called communication. And so listening to people talking can be a great way to just tune into how English is used in that sort of pragmatic way. You know, listening helps with your pronunciation, and that helps with your speaking. You know, the better you get at listening, the better you get at understanding what the spoken language actually sounds like and how it's produced. You know, in the same way that doing lots of reading can help your writing, doing lots of listening can help your speaking too. Listening helps you with social skills, and I think the vast majority, unless you're emailing people, which obviously a lot of people will be doing, they'll be in their offices emailing, but for the most part, we will be interacting orally, and listening is a huge part of that. You know, if you don't understand what the people you're talking to, if you don't understand what they're saying, then you've got no chance at all. And I read a study in what was it? Teaching and Learning in the Language Classroom by Patricia Hedge. I think that's the book. But in that, there's a quote that there was a study done 1978, Rivers and Temperley in Oxford, and they worked out that. So, what do you reckon is the percentage of time spent in communication across the 4 skills? What's the percentage of time we spend on writing? So it's writing, speaking, reading, and listening, in no particular order. Which one do you think is the 9%?
9 or 90?
9% of our communication time is spent on writing, reading, listening, or speaking. Which one do you think it is? 9%.
9 writing.
Writing, correct. 16%.
16%.
16% of the time we are doing reading. 30%.
Communicating.
Speaking.
Yeah. And 45% of the time we are listening.
Yes,
yeah, 45% of our communication time is spent listening. Now, obviously, in terms of communication, in speaking, in conversations, yeah, we do a lot of listening, and listening is a vital thing. Just in terms of, you know, the pragmatics of having a conversation, you've got to, you know, the better you are at listening, the better you are at having a conversation, I think.
I totally agree with you.
But listening is difficult. It is actually difficult. One of the reasons for that is that it's transient. You know, the words come through the ether, you know, and you hear them once, and it all can go quite quickly. It's not like reading where you can back up, you can read the line again, you can go back to the beginning of the paragraph and read it again at your own speed. With listening, it all comes at you. There's less control that you can have. The words and sentences don't appear to be the same as they are when they're written down. Someone can say a word or a phrase to you again and again, and you can just be clueless, like, what are they saying? And then they write it down and instantly you get it. So it can be more difficult, but I think this is the reason why people need to do it more, to become more and more familiar with it. And I think that the more that we listen, the more we understand. Maybe there is the learning curve is quite steep at the beginning with listening. People get turned off, by the fact that they don't understand every single word. This can be very, distracting, but stick with it. If people, again, if they do it for longer periods of time, long term, then there can be huge benefits. And I speak from experience in the sense that I have listeners to my podcast who've written to me and told me. I have lots and lots of accounts, testimonies from people who've said that they didn't understand things in the beginning, but they kept going. Or, people like recently I did this competition on my podcast where listeners got the chance to be interviewed, and I've interviewed 6 people, and their stories are really interesting because for all of them, they've got really great English. Like, I'm really blown away by the quality of their English. And for all of them, listening was a really important part of their process. And for at least 2 of them, they were really bad at English, like only a few years ago. And they totally rearranged their priorities, focused on doing lots of listening, and the results sort of speak for themselves. So I am an advocate for listening, of course. I mean, because I've got a podcast, I want people to listen to it, but also because I think it is really helpful and really beneficial. But what do you think? I mean, you are both successful learners of English. I'm sure you have comments too.
I would like to let Christina say something as well, but I was thinking while you were talking, first of all, yes, totally agree with you. Listening is maybe the most important activity that we do when we were children, when we were just babies. We were listening until the moment that we start speaking, right? Or saying something. Yeah, well, this is something that is one thing. When we listen to you, for example, in the first moment, it's a little bit steep because you don't start with the easy words. No, you go with everything from the moment first moment.
Throw you
right?
in at the deep end.
Immediately. But after we listen to you for a while, you become familiar. Is that because you become familiar, and then when you become familiar, it's easy. It's easy because we know, your sounds. Yeah, that is one thing. Another, yes, I have heard some of your last podcasts that you have invited people. You've invited some people. Really good, really good. We are going to do the spelling bee in the chat box. We are going to make a contest because it's so nice, so good. So yeah, the thing is that also having other people in your podcast talking to you, it's even more challenging, right? But perfect. And the last one, it's an open question. How do you do, my dear? How can you come with so many great topics? Where do they come from? Because you always have new material, topics. Every single podcast of yours is like enticing because of the topic itself, not only because what you said in the podcast, right? It's also the topic that is enticing, inviting. Okay, so where do all this material come from? Maybe people recommend.
Yeah, sometimes people suggest things, but people often suggest things to me, and I'm just like, okay, and I write it on the list. I don't know really. I don't know. it's nice to know that you think that the topics are compelling. That's nice to know. I don't know. I suppose I just try and think what people will find interesting. But you know what? I think a lot of the time, what I do, like the latest episodes with Fred, the one with the spelling bee, and where we're looking at using online dictionaries and stuff. So what happened then is that Fred came over. You know, I was like, Fred, come back on the podcast again. I don't think it's the topics so much as just the interaction that I have with the people I talk to. That I just, you know, certain people who are my friends, I just know that they are personalities that I'm always going to have a good rapport with. And so it's more that drives it. And then we have a conversation. And then afterwards, I sort of decide, okay, so that was the topic of this conversation. So it's not topic led. It's more just like the vibe of the person I'm talking to. And we just sort of get together and just like jam, you know, in a sense, just like have fun having a conversation. I try to always make my conversations, I try to find ways to apply what we're saying to learners of English. So I can say, hey, look, we're talking about this, or look, this is useful because of this. But I don't know, it's not always topic led. It's more personality led or something. And then afterwards, I will decide what the topic was based on just what the flow of the conversation was. A lot of my episodes don't have a consistent topic.
No, it's like you go with some flow.
Go with the flow.
But then it's the joy of listening to something that is producing there. You know, it's being produced there. You know, but it's with the topic. But you know, even when you do the reading or not the commenting of the books with your mom, it's incredible.
Well, that's nice of you to say. Yeah, going with the flow, I think. And again, that brings me back to the value of listening to spontaneous speech and not just pre-scripted speech.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-scripted speech is, I mean, scripted dialogue and pre-written recordings are great for several reasons. One, because graded listening is really important for lower level people. When you're designing a course book and you're designing learning materials, it is beneficial to be able to decide which language is going to be presented in the audio, you know, and so obviously you need to write it all out in advance so you can plan and prepare. You know, a lot of material is very well prepared and well designed, you know, by professionals. And that's another reason. And a third reason is because it means there's always a transcript at the end, which is good. Because, you know, you can play with transcripts and audio, and, you know, having the two allows you to do lots of different types of practice and stuff like that. So that's a thing, but it does take away that spontaneity, which is the sort of a spark that is in every conversation. And listening to people listening to each other is actually a really important thing to do too. Listening to the way that people respond to each other and the way that people pay attention. And when you know that people are listening, and when you know that there's this spontaneity in the air, it somehow grabs you a lot better. And in some conversations I have with people, I don't see the time going. I'll look at my recorder and I'll be like, oh my goodness, we've been speaking for 45 minutes. And it's just that we've just been trying to follow each other, just sort of like chasing each other and dancing, you know, and hopefully that makes engaging and compelling audio, which is the useful stuff for learning. When you don't see the time passing, you're just focusing on just trying to understand and follow what's being said. That I think is a natural sort of process that maybe follows the way that our brains are designed to learn these communication systems, I suppose.
It's incredible. Yeah, you're right. It's the most difficult. Yeah, I am a psychologist. I don't know if I told you before.
No, you
yeah. I am a clinic psychologist, right? Mostly psychoanalysis, right? And there is, you know, one part of the training, that it's definitely learning to listen. Yeah, we cannot be psychologists. I mean, the people that study this profession, they cannot, you know, be psychologists unless they learn how to listen. You know. Be prepared for the surprise. Be prepared for the meeting something, you know, like to find something in the other person, right? Because you're listening. Otherwise, you're not going to find anything because you're preparing yourself what to say. I'm going to say this, immediately. Christina, I would like to know I want to listen to your thoughts now.
Yeah, well, I would like to come back to what you said, Katy, about being baby, because that's true. Yeah, I have two small babies, and I see that for the first years of their life, the only thing they do, they don't read, they don't write, right? They don't even communicate, but they listen to parents, right? All the time, talking to them. And that's quite important in a way. That's what I would like to say. So, or to ask rather, how much is important the level of the English? Yeah, because can you imagine, for instance, my children, they are bilingual, and I think that, okay, so it's time to start teaching them English. And it's the same with adults whose the level is not that, not high. So how should we, combine this to find maybe the right level, not to be frustrated, not to get totally lost in what you are saying or what in the podcast? Like, does it help if we are just, okay, so because recently what I've just done, okay, so I put Luke's podcast, during the morning, during the breakfast
with your kids,
and with the kids, and just we are eating and we are listening to. Actually, they don't, but I don't know how big impact could it be, because they have no idea what is that. So
I hope I didn't say anything. I hope I haven't said anything inappropriate in some of those episodes that you've been playing to your children. But they have to learn everything, don't they? I suppose.
That's life.
I don't know, Katy. Do you want to? What do you reckon?
Yeah, well, I think that I think that when you start learning the language, you have to go to the full Monty. I mean, you go everything, go. But with the children, I would put something for children, like songs, like something for children. Not this, because they're going to they're not going to understand, because of the difficulty is not the language. The difficulty is the combination of the. I mean, this guy has a complex way of thinking, and children have a very, solid way of thinking. So bring some material for children and enjoy children. It doesn't matter that you have a lot of new words, but they are related to something, for children. So that is my opinion, right? So Luke is not for children.
No, it's not really. It's not a podcast for children. So I would say, like, putting on some, speaking in the background when your kids are having their breakfast or whatever. I think it's okay. I agree with what Katy said, that it's probably better to engage them with something that is designed for them, and they will listen probably a bit more carefully. Like, for example, on Spotify, I discovered that there are episodes of Paw Patrol. I don't know if you know about
Paw Patrol. Yeah.
Paw Patrol.
One of the dogs.
Dogs. Yeah.
There's like a gang of dogs, and they rescue people in trouble. It's the same story as like almost every kids' TV show. There's a bunch of animals, and they rescue people. It's always the same thing. Anyway, so Paw Patrol on Spotify, there are some audio stories of Paw Patrol, and it's in British English and stuff. And I play that to my daughter, and she listens. She actually wants to listen to the stories. We also have these Mr. Men stories, and she listens to them too. Yeah, that is definitely better, because she's engaged in listening to it, and she's actually focusing on it. And that's when, I expect learning happens much more effectively when people are actually engaged. But, having the English on in the background is not necessarily bad. I think it's good, because they will hear it. They won't be engaged with it so much, but they will hear it. It's not a bad thing. It's like when I was growing up, we always had BBC Radio 4 just playing in the kitchen, and it sort of like blends in with the background. And now I just, I think it probably left some imprint on me, but not in a memorable way. It's more just like deep passive knowledge. I think that anything that we hear the brain somewhere registers it and catches it. But yeah, you really want to capture their attention and grab their attention. When it comes to adults at different levels, I think, yeah, we've got to be conscious of what level we are. And there's the 80-20 rule, or whatever, Stephen Krashen said about comprehensible input, that we should be, consuming things. I think a lot of the time he's talking about reading, but things that are just above our level is probably good, where you can understand, what is it, 70 or 80% of it. And then that 20 or 30%, the understanding the majority helps you understand that smaller portion. So yeah, if someone is a beginner, it's going to be quite hard for them to just jump in and listen to my podcast or something else that's at a similar level. They can. I mean, a lot of people do. It all depends on their motivation. If they are motivated to actually listen to it, and focus on it, then that can help. But it's probably a better idea to sort of go with something a bit more simple at the beginning. BBC 6-Minute English is a good example, or British Council elementary podcasts are also good. You can find them online for lower levels.
Yes, you know what? When I said that it's good to go to, all the English all together, but then when you have this kind of levels, you go down, maybe what I would recommend is to make it in parts, to make it in parts. So you have all this communication here, okay? Maybe you said a phrase, you pronounce something like an expression, yeah? And then you have to go back, you have to go really into the detail with the people.
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen like that, when you have a best, something.
Break it up. This is for the lower level people. Break it up, listen to chunks at a time. And if there are transcripts, they can be very useful and very important, because you can spend 5 minutes trying to understand something, and then you check the script. And because with reading, you can see the words, you can copy paste those words into dictionaries and get definitions of them. You can kind of like spend a bit more time. Yeah, it's gonna have to be a bit more of a process at the beginning, until you get to a point where you can just like go for a walk or do the washing up while you are listening, and just sort of like follow most of it and let your brain kind of work out the rest. Yes, but for the lower level ones, yeah, you might need to work with the transcript, shorter episodes, or breaking it up into chunks. I mean, maybe Katy, what you were sort of referring to too was something about immersion and the importance of just like, the getting English all around you and just being surrounded by English, so that you are getting exposed to it as often as possible. That's obviously very good. But lower level learners might need to find lower level materials and support, from transcripts or graded tasks and things like that.
Because I just remember myself several years ago when I tried to put this BBC radio all the time, and for me it was quite frustrated. Really, I thought like something it's not working. Yeah, I couldn't understand it. Let's not say a word. It was even worse that I could understand each single, let's say, fourth word, but I couldn't put it on together.
I think this is a common thing that people. I mean, BBC radio. Okay, I wonder which one was it. The BBC World Service.
I think I tried to switch them from one to another in order to find something that I could understand properly. But it was many years ago, and now I see that maybe it is not really that good. Radio or broadcasting to listen to. I
think it's a common assumption that people, when they think, right, I'm going to listen to something, what do I listen to? And they instantly go to the BBC, or BBC News as well is often the one, or, BBC World Service is available around the world, and BBC World, the TV channel, the 24-hour TV news channel. I think it's not a great idea, because like three reasons. First one is that it's really hard to follow that level of conversation. People are talking at a very high level. It's very complex stuff, talking about news and current affairs. Secondly, so it's complicated. Secondly, it's just boring. I mean, a lot of the time. I don't mean Radio 4 is boring. They have really fascinating programs. I love listening to it. But listening to the news can be quite serious and boring and painful sort of thing, and depressing. And thirdly, people on the news don't talk like normal people either. you know, and I've done this in my comedy shows many times, you know, just the idea that, you know, on the BBC, everyone speaks like this, you know, with a very strange voice that no one actually uses in the real world, you know. So it's not a great idea to use, just automatically assume that the BBC is going to be the best thing. Depends. Some programs are great, obviously, but then, you know, there are so many podcasts now for learners of English. I think this has to be the best stuff, because this is this is for learners of English. You know, you are being addressed directly. It is for you. And, you know, the host is saying hello to you. How's your English going? And, you know, it's much, it's the tool for the job.
Interactive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, my dear. So the time has flown, and now we have to say goodbye, because I know that you are busy people with, you know, a lot of appointments and things to do. I want to say thank you, but from the bottom of my heart, Luke, because you are always so supportive, you know, so I know you from no long time ago, you know, but it's been more than, you know, I expected, you know, when I met you for the first time. So I consider you a friend, Luke. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
and you
Kathy.
know that we are, thank you. You know that we are, you know, trying to continue. You know, we are continuing with this project that we started with Christian.
Yes, tell us about it in the last few minutes of this video.
Yes, of course. The thing is that we are in this moment, we already achieved our milestone, and it was, you know, $50,000 to build a school in Laos. That was, you know, something we were so happy. Now we are celebrating that, you know, we are going to meet the people from Pencils of Promises. They are going to tell us exactly what we are going to do. I mean, we are not going to be there with the, you know, pale. How do you say it?
Or like a hammer?
Maybe, and this
sledgehammer and a spade and a
spade. Or shovel,
I guess.
So
American
this is
English.
that is the typical vocabulary that we don't know, right?
Yes, maybe I need to do an episode about building a school. Oh, there's an idea. Wait, so Pencils of Promise is the company, the organization that is going to actually build the school, is that right? They're the charity.
They are the charity that we came to Pencils of Promises, which is worldwide, you know, but so that they are the charity institution, organization. And then we arrived, we got it, you know, the 50,000, and now we are going to continue with the same idea. Like
50,000 is incredible.
Yes,
that's great.
And 7 months.
Just 7 months.
7, 8 months, I think. I'm not sure, but 7
even
or
less.
8 months.
Yes.
Even less, you can say.
Yeah, 6 months, because we started in December last year. So.
And it's June. Yeah, but you know, Christian started a little bit before, because he started reading a dictionary.
Yeah, I know. So this kicked off when Christian decided, right, I'm going to try and, you know, raise money to help build a school, and he did the dictionary reading thing, which is complete madness.
I was like desperate, seeing, please.
I thought his retinas were going to become unattached, or you know, or that his brain was going to fall out or something. I don't know, but so and that initiative, and that was a big publicity stunt to kind of raise to help, you know, bring attention to it, to raise money. But so finally then $50,000 has been raised, and that was the target. In fact, you raised more than that, but this is an ongoing
yes, it doesn't stop. Now the money, you know, is there, but we continue because now we created, in order to make this real, you know, we created a group of people, the people that have, you know, given the money and also their time and their effort. So Christine, for example, is one of the teachers there. Okay. And we have like 129, I think, members in that group. Okay. And we want to make it bigger, because it's going to be, you know, the project that we have is that this is not going to be only this, right? We are going to grow. We want to make more schools. We want to help in other ways. Maybe don't build a school, maybe, but maybe help them to be sustainable, you know, in time.
So this is a school in a part of Laos, which is sort of like borders Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam, that part of the world, and a very poor place. And so their pencils of promise are constructing a school there, and the local kids will be going there. They'll be using the rooms and the resources. Right. Okay. Yes. Fantastic. And so you're looking at sort of continuing this and, you know, building more similar places. The group that you mentioned is, so these are the people who've contributed. They get to join the group, and as part of the group, they also get to keep in touch with all of the progress of the project and stuff. But it's good for their English as well, isn't it? Because they're in the group there are sort of, well, lessons or sessions or whatever that they can be part of. And Christina is one of the sort of
everything, actually almost everything you can imagine. Matt, our teacher, he's created this speaking challenge that's really important. Just blow up any activities. We have activity almost every day about Lao culture, about learning English. Anything you can imagine.
Singing
really
sessions.
So it's a growing community of people who've contributed money to the project and now have access to these English sessions, which, as you said, happen nearly every day. It's a Telegram group, isn't it? It's on Telegram.
Yes, it's on Telegram, but we meet by Zoom, right? And no, it's really something, you know, that you become a member of a community. You know, we give some money, but that money is entirely, the 100% is to build the school in Laos. Okay, so I am inviting, you know, all the people that want to join us, to be part of it, you know.
How do they do that?
Okay, why don't we do something? You know, I am going to send you the link, because there is a link to a landing page where you can join, right? You can join and you agree with the terms, which are easy, you know, be part of the community, be active, you know. And good. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So that link will be in the description to the landing page you mentioned, which is where you can read about all the details and what's involved.
Of course,
like
look, of course. And I thank you so much for
this
kindness
my pleasure.
of yours.
All right. No problem. And I hope that it makes a big difference.
Thank you. Okay, my dear. So I let you go now. Okay. But thank you, Luke. I'm going to send you the video, you know, as soon as possible.
Yes, I'll attach the promo video to this and all that stuff, and that's great. Okay. Nice to see you both.
Nice to see you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Take care.